We all understand the type of climate that we're dealing with. We're dealing with multiple offer situations.
I'd love to know sort of what's your why? What makes you tick? Why are you so successful?
Have a dialogue with your lawyer. Have a dialogue with your agent.
Both sort of passionate about sort of what we do.
Again, vet your agent to make sure that they're experienced and they're local. I like that idea.
No excuse to miss it on Saturdays from 8 to 9.
That's right.
WBZ.
And now, the show that gives you the latest and most relevant housing market news. Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Shearer and legal professional Ali Alavi.
You talk about a couple of statistics here, and I know how Ali loves statistics, so I'm just going to throw them out there.
I'm a numbers guy. I love statistics.
So essentially you say here that condo prices in the past 5 years in Dorchester have doubled. I mean, that's huge. You go on to say in Southie is up 54%, in Roxbury is up 132% over the last 5 years. Those are huge numbers.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, that just shows that people want to live here, and they're exploring those neighborhoods now.
Right. I mean, we've talked about this before. There is obviously, as affordability within Boston proper, and and it's a very, very tight, restrictive neighborhoods we're talking about. As the affordability in those particular neighborhoods goes down, so you can't afford to live there, you're forced to move in other neighborhoods.
Absolutely, right.
So, I mean, we've coined this has been coined as the halo effect, right? So as something becomes way out of my reach, then there's additional neighborhoods in the surrounding towns that become more attractive.
Yeah, which provides incredible opportunities for developers if they're willing to look. So, a lot of developers now, I mean, we're right here on Western Ave. They're looking down Western Ave. They're looking at Eastie. They're looking at, obviously, South Boston is already booming. Yeah,
now you're Dorchester, you're getting into Roxbury. I mean, I'm hearing people talk about Mattapan is starting to see some regrowth. I mean, Roxbury, again, just even the statistic, but you've got Northeastern right over there. You've got student living. You've got, and that's starting to get a little bit better. You're starting to see Starbucks dropping everywhere, which obviously, when you see a Starbucks, that value right there goes up. We talked about that with the chief economist from Zillow that was on the show. You've got those, you can't afford those different, the South Boston, the South End, then you went to South Boston to Dorchester.
That's right.
It's starting to get
I encourage
crazy.
the listeners to buy a copy of Boston Magazine, get a copy of this magazine, and read this articles. There's a lot of meat there. There's a lot of statistics there. There's a lot of content there, and it puts it in perspective. Given the research that you did, given the fact-checking that went into writing this article, can I challenge you in looking in your crystal ball? You've got an architectural background. You've written about the housing and development in the city over the past decade. Where are we going? What's the impact of the lack of affordability, the role of BRA, and the cost of construction, so on and so forth? Where are we going? Where are we heading?
No, that's awesome. And Rachel talks about it in here that the millennial generation is essentially looking to live with multiple people. So the one-bedroom apartments and the two-bedroom apartments aren't really satisfying that millennial generation that really needs to be in like Mission Hill with 4,000 square feet and 5 bedrooms kind of thing. I mean, is that where are you seeing the majority of your inventory for the millennial generation as they're coming up?
What we see is them being close to public transportation corridors, being really close to the T is what people want. They don't want to own a car in the city. So that's where the inventory on Sumu, we're seeing kind of a pattern as. We're also seeing a pattern in what sort of inventory that they're looking for. It's not just bedrooms in a place. They're looking for maybe being able to share a pool table in the common area. They're looking for that dorm experience now into adulthood.
Interesting.
And that allows the developer to start thinking creatively about what they can offer at a community level or at the specific apartment level.
What price point are you guys seeing are more attractive? We have friends of ours who just opened up a rental, high-end rental, couple $1,000s a month for a 1-bedroom. I mean, are you seeing that inventory? Or are you seeing the sort of the tired, but the tired places to live, almost like college living?
Sure. It's not college living. We're seeing more of an inventory that's at that scale. There's the luxury units on our site, and there's also the more affordable ones on our website as well.
What a fresh new approach, in my opinion. But we've gone on a journey on this in this show, right? We've talked about the limited inventory. We've talked about how that limited inventory and the challenges associated with construction has created a massive affordability issue.
Right.
That's created opportunities like companies like Sumo to be able to allow solutions for people to be able to rent units, so on and so forth.
Right.
But all this translates to we're seeing some level of movement from the city, from the metro area over to the Metro West areas, the suburbs areas, right? And so we're seeing sort of the millennials that have got married, that are having kids, are moving out to the suburbs.
Right.
And there's a lot of costs associated with living in the suburbs, and one of those costs is utility cost. Wouldn't you agree,
Energy,
Rick?
absolutely. One of my biggest bills.
And so we're actually really excited about having Larry Lassard of Achieve Renewable Energy here. Larry, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Excellent, thanks. So tell us about yourself, Larry.
I'm a professional geologist, and I run a company that provides solar installations and geothermal installations.
And you've done so since 2006. I mean, you guys have been around for a while.
That's right.
And so you offer pretty much the plethora of renewable energy. We're talking about solar, but we're also talking about geothermal, which I know nothing about. I'm not going to even pretend.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know much about geo, and that's one of the reasons why it's great to be here.
Is it a new technology, geothermal?
Well, geothermal's been used for about 100 years.
So it's not new?
Not new, but it's come into more prominent residential and commercial use in the last 35 years.
So break it down for us. What is geothermal? What are we talking about? Because when I hear that, I automatically think that Rick and I should be living next to a volcano to take advantage of that.
Right.
Right, yeah, that's a Discovery Channel kind of stuff. Right?
Exactly.
And there are really two kinds of geothermal. High temperature geothermal, where people will use the energy from hot rock to make steam and generate electricity. That's not what we do.
Right.
Oh, okay.
We do an exchange of heat with the ground, and we move heat into the building from the ground during the heating season, and take heat from the building and put it back into the ground in the cooling season. So geothermal is very efficient because we're moving energy around instead of creating it.
How do you do that?
It's not.
It's just crazy.
It's
magic.
It is. It's magic of the refrigeration system. We use ground source heat pumps or geothermal heat pumps, and a connection to the ground, the ground source, which is usually a vertical closed loop type system that absorbs heat from the ground, and then the heat pump extracts that heat and puts it into the house, and it gets distributed through ducting or radiant flooring or even baseboard.